In 2009, at Fort Hood here in Texas, an Army doctor yelling Allahu Akbar unalived 13 people and wounded 30 others in the worst shooting against armed forces on a military base in this country. Since then, by the way, there have been other Islamic terror incidents on our military bases here at home. Be that as it may, we are still inviting Islam onto our military bases and even in 2026, extending outreach to make them feel right at home. I've got the receipts incoming. Am I crazy or is this a bad idea? Welcome back to Come and Take It. Obviously, in the year of our Lord 2026, we have talked a whole heck of a lot about the Islamification of the state of Texas and of this country and how Islam is clearly incompatible with the West. And I realize that maybe some of you who are not as worried. Maybe you're in the dark. Maybe you are naive.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean any offense, but just that you'd have to be naive to not realize that this is a problem. And maybe you're like, gosh, why do you keep talking about this? Well, because we have to sound the alarm before it's too late. All right? Especially here in the state of Texas. We've talked about the fact that Islamists are saying the quiet parts out loud. They are telling us their plans. Used to be that they were very quiet about it. It was all in the dark. It was all done in secret. And they would pretend to be like very agreeable and amenable. And they were doing all of these things as a subversion. Now they're just telling us their plan is to infiltrate and take over. And we're just like, gotta give them freedom of religion. This is America. Falling right into their trap, by the way. That is exactly what they expect you to do. They are like, actually, we know what Americans will do. We know what these silly little Americans will do. These Americans who are not willing to like die for their religion like we are, for their way of life like we are. We know that we can hold Americans' morals and values against them. We know that we can hold Christianity against them. We know that we can try to appeal to Americans for their freedom of speech, freedom of religion. We know that we can use those values against them, even though we don't intend to hold ourselves to the same standard, because once we're in charge, there is no freedom of religion, there is no freedom of speech. You guys are SOL, it's Islam or bust. That's how that's going to work. In fact, by the way, before I drop these receipts here on just how comfortable it is for Muslims on our military bases, I just would like to go back to last week on the GOP ballot. They had this proposition about Sharia law. Over 95% of Republican voters voted in favor of the proposition to ban Sharia law.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now, I told you guys before you voted for that, I told you guys, listen, it's nice, like it's a cute virtue signal for the GOP to be like, do you want to ban Sharia law? Check yes if you do. But it doesn't actually do anything.
No, no, no.
Like without actual legislative action, it does not do a single thing. So I just wanted people to just temper your enthusiasm. It's not like once you said yes and then you saw the voting results Tuesday night in the primary and you're like, yes, we did it. We banned Sharia law. That's not actually what happened. Nothing happened.
Okay, now I'm pissed.
You have to trust the legislators that you actually put in office, that you send to Austin to do something about it. And the question is, have you elected or do you intend to elect in November? Do you intend to elect someone in November who is going to go to Austin and who is going to have the balls to do so? That will be a question that only you can answer. And you can only answer that by being educated. Is the legislator that you intend to send to Austin strong enough and brave enough and bold enough to say, I don't care what mean names you call me. I'm going to go there and I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we make Texas the most inhospitable place for Islam in the country. Now, this whole vote, the proposition vote, I think prompted the creation of the Sharia Free Texas Caucus. This is led by Representative Brent Money. He's great. And he was quoted as saying that he really liked what the federal government, the Republicans in the federal government, were doing with regard to the Sharia-free caucus within the House. And he decided to create one here in the state of Texas because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see we are in very real trouble. Look around us. We're dealing with Epic City. We're dealing with what in the world is going on in Kaufman County. We're still not too sure. We're dealing with actual like Sharia mediation facilities. Like we are dealing with a lot when it comes to the Islamification of Texas. So good on Representative Money for creating the Sharia-free Texas caucus. Every single Republican should join that. There is no reason not to join that caucus. And if I'm being honest with you, I think every single legislator should join that caucus, because to imply that Sharia should be allowed in this state or in this country is traitorous, because it goes against the very values and morals, and it would be giving aid to an enemy. So that's my personal opinion. However, I realize that typically the left is like America last. And so I wouldn't expect them to jump on board for that. But on that note of all of the topic of Islam and banning Sharia and the Sharia-free caucus and all of that here in the state of Texas, I saw a post that I share her work all the time, Amy Mack over at the Rare Foundation. She really is doing such great work. But I saw a post from her that troubled me greatly. It troubled me because I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I don't know what the solution is, but I know that it is a problem. Okay. And I'm just one of those people. I'm like very honest with you when I'm like, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. I just want to, I feel like it's still valuable to make sure to hone in on the problem. So maybe we can all collaborate for a solution. Okay. So Fort Hood, Killeen, Texas, where Army Dr. Nidal Hassan shouted Allahu Akbar as he unalived American service members. Okay, right there, same place. Ramadan is taking place right now in the Muslim community. And for those who don't know, Muslims celebrate Ramadan as it represents the month when the beginning of the Quran was supposedly revealed to Muhammad.
Right.
And so they celebrate that whole Islamic month, and it doesn't go by the same like dates as our months, but they celebrate the whole Islamic month by fasting during the day for that entire month. So they can't eat, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't like have intimate relations during the day. They have to wait until sundown, until after they have their sunset prayer, and then they can finally eat. And so they do that for a whole month. Now, me personally, I mean, that's so like Fort Hood, where all of this took place, there's some interesting things going on there. Now, before I share that, me personally, I think our entire country should be finding ways to be totally inhospitable to Islam. But unfortunately, our military, specifically over on Fort Hood, who should be no stranger to the dangers of Islam, unfortunately, Fort Hood is actually welcoming it with open arms.
What?
They posted this on their Facebook page. Fort Hood Muslim Community presents Ramadan Iftar. Yay! By the way, it's the 5th annual. There was a first, a second, a third, a fourth. If you missed those, here comes the 5th. All right. Put on by the Fort Hood Muslim Community. It says the Fort Hood Religious Support Office and Fort Hood Muslim Community warmly invite all to an evening of fellowship, reflection, and community as we break the fast together during the month of Ramadan. The 5th annual Ramadan Iftar dinner will take place at the Main Post Chapel Activity Center at 4:30 p.m. today. The Iftar is the daily evening meal used to break the dawn to sunset fast during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, when fasting is required of all healthy adult Muslims. The annual observance of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. This event is open to soldiers, families, DOW civilians, and community members of all backgrounds, and then they give a link for you to RSVP to. I actually love that it says the annual observance of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Islam, the thing that's incompatible with our way of life, with Western civilization, with this country. So here's the question I have, okay? Tell me this. If a Muslim is supposed to be faithful to Islam, and Islam calls its followers to destroy those who do not follow Allah, therefore Islam is incompatible with the West, how can a Muslim be in the U.S. military?
That doesn't make sense.
It's a genuine question, okay? Because every service member has to take an oath to defend our country against both foreign and domestic enemies. And Islam is a very clear enemy to America. All of these Muslim majority countries, like these Islamic countries, Islamic states, they are chanting death to America in the streets. So you tell me, how can a Muslim serve in the military? The only excuse, the only reason that I could figure is those of you who might say, well, there are some peaceful Muslims. Well, there are some nice Muslims. Not all Muslims mean us harm. I would say it stands to reason that the only Muslims who would be capable and not dangerous to serve in our military would be bad at their religion, right? Like the only peaceful Muslim is a Muslim who's bad at their religion. And if they aren't bad at their religion, it could have deadly consequences to allow these people in the military, because this feels like we're just doing it to ourselves. This is a humiliation ritual at this point. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers again, but I would like to pose the question, does this seem like a disaster waiting to happen to anyone else?
Almost definitely.
I don't know how we fix it, but I know that inviting Muslims to serve in our military and then celebrating their holy holidays of Islam, to celebrate one of the 5 pillars of Islam through the Fort Hood Muslim Association is the opposite of solving the problem. Like, I'm not here to solve the problem. I am here to tell you doing all of those things is the opposite of solving the problem.
Behind every politician, election, and piece of legislation, there's a story about how we got there. I'm Luke Macias, and for the last 15 years, I have been in the trenches fighting for conservative victories. I know the movers and shakers in Texas politics, and you can listen to my show to hear the stories about what's really happening in Austin. Watch and listen every Wednesday.
By the way, this was crazy. I just looked this up. Back in 2022, the Fort Hood Garrison Chaplain's Office determined that Fort Hood, fun fact, Fort Hood actually has the largest Muslim community in the Department of Defense. Of course, now the Department of War, but back in 2022, that's what they determined. So they had a big Muslim population, so big, in fact, that they celebrated bringing in a Muslim chaplain to accommodate them. And here was one of the quotes in an article that was written about it at the time. It says, amid her almost 17 years of serving in the military, this is the first time Sergeant First Class Muna Hassan says she's truly had a Muslim chaplain. You'll love this quote. I've seen the transition in the military to make it more diverse and inclusive, Hassan said. The idea that you are important, all of you, not just the army, sight of you. Having a strong faith makes a better soldier. Having a strong faith for Allah and Islam makes you a better soldier, but for whom is my question? For whom is my question? Can you serve both Allah and Muhammad and the American military? I say no. This just seems like a bad idea. You guys let me know in the comments if you agree. What am I missing? This seems like a giant disaster. The idea, and I get it, Muslims have served in the military for forever, but the fast encroachment upon our rights right now, at the same time that our American military services are embracing a culture that wants to destroy us, is just a bad idea, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. I'd like to know what can be done realistically. Like, I want you guys to let me know in the comments, what do you guys think can be done realistically to solve this? I don't want to pretend I have all the answers. I think we should all work together to try to solve this. Okay? Because typically this is how Islam works. They creep and they creep and they creep. And they prey upon your vulnerabilities and your, American savior complex. And they just keep chipping away. All right. I thought this was wild. You tell me, intentional or coincidence? As I mentioned, 2009 was the Fort Hood terrorist attack on our base. Okay. I saw this article from the Army's website. 2010, just the year after, actually marked the first annual Ramadan prayer breakfast at Fort Hood. Yeah. So they couldn't wait, actually, to rub it in your face that they were going to unalive service members of yours, and then they were going to use the following year to just go ahead and make the first annual Ramadan prayer breakfast, because that's what they do. They just keep pushing and chipping away, all while we're like, oh, we need to be more inclusive. We need to be more diverse and inclusive. DEI, more like die. DEI, change the I and the E around and you have die. That's what's going to happen. They're going to unalive you, and then they're going to make you celebrate the religion they unalived you in the name of. And Americans are like, yeah, we support you. We celebrate you. Yay, you. How dare those people take your religion at its word? That's crazy. They should just not read or something, or not listen to you. That's mean. They're a bunch of meanies. Let's celebrate you. It's really sick stuff. It's really sick stuff. I'm going to tell you guys again. Keep telling you. Wake up before it's too late. Ignore Islam at your own peril. If you think that this is all it's not all by design, that they are encroaching and encroaching and encroaching, that there was just an attack on 6th Street in Austin, and they are so brazen. I'm telling you guys that the fact that they couldn't wait 1 year after what happened at Fort Hood to be like, actually, we're celebrating Ramadan now. We've claimed this place. It's happening. What are we going to do about it? You guys let me know in the comments what you think. Subscribe to this channel, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. And of course, subscribe to the playlist, Come and Take It. This is the Come and Take It playlist. I come to you guys every week, well, mostly every week, Tuesdays at 12 Central, and we talk about all things Texas. But as we know, so goes Texas, so goes the country. So whether or not it touches you in your state, if you're not in Texas, it's still going to matter. Okay, so make sure you subscribe to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered and Come and Take It, and we will see you next time.